Hey guys, welcome back for another tech talk on Uncut Gems with Slim. Today I'm sharing with you guys my lens collection. So the last video I did my camera collection and I shared with you guys the different cameras that I own. So if you guys are interested in that video, make sure you click up here and check it out. But I mentioned to you guys like what makes, the best camera to get that blurry background. And right now I don't have anything in the background. But I mentioned to you guys that there's a way to get like that blurry background in your videos, and it actually isn't solely on the camera body. What makes that big of a difference is your camera lens. So I kind of changed the angle of this video just to show you guys like the blur in the background and all that kind of stuff. So let's jump straight into it. The first lens that I have on this camera is the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. And I know those are a lot of numbers, and I'm gonna break it down for you in the way that I understand it. The lower millimeter number, so like 18 millimeter, 24 millimeter, the lower that number to 0, the wider it is. So this right here is 18 millimeters, right? And because it says 18-35 millimeters, that means it's a zoom lens, so you can zoom in with the lens. So I'm just gonna bring you guys all the way up to 35, and so this is 35 millimeters. So that is your zoom range, which is really good for sit down videos, hair videos, all those types of videos. It's really good because again, your range is from here all the way out here. So again, this is 18 far away wide shot, and this is 35, which is zoomed in close shot. And as you can see, the door in the back and the entryway is blurred and all of that stuff. And in the blurred aspect, or the bokeh in the back, that comes from the f-stop. So the f-stop is the f1.8 that I mentioned, and usually on the lens like this is the 18-35 millimeter f1.8. That means that's the lowest f-stop that this lens can go to. And so like when you're looking for a lens that's going to give you a nice bokeh, nice blur in the background, you want to look for the lowest f-stop you can find. Now the lower the f-stop, typically the more expensive the lens, depending on whether it's a zoom lens, how wide or far it is. All those play into the price of the lens. So again, the Sigma 18-35 millimeter f1.8 is a great investment, I feel like, for natural hair creators, because you can this is zoomed in great, and this is my arm stretched all the way out, and you can kind of see how you see that blur in the back. That's an emphasis on the depth of field that this lens captures. So for people who do natural hair, like this might be great for like something you need close up. But if I'm like styling my hair up here and the camera is already like an arm length and a half away from me, you will want something where you could zoom out and be able to boom, capture all of your hair. Again, this is probably a better lens for like outfit hauls and stuff like that too, because you have way more room to capture your content. So that's the first lens in my collection. The next lens I'm hop to is this lens. I know the color is different because I have my other camera set up that's filming with my different lenses. So this lens right here is the Canon EF mount. This is the 50 millimeter lens, and it's f1.8 as well. So this is 50 millimeters, so that's a little bit further than the 35 that we just looked at, which means the larger the millimeter number, the closer it's gonna be. And because it's just a 50 millimeter and there's no, you know, other millimeter number paired with it, that means that it's a fixed lens. So it's gonna be 50 millimeters point blank period. There's no change in that. And so the way you zoom in and zoom out, you have to physically move the camera closer to you or further back. Now this can be a hindrance for someone who may be filming in a small room or a tight space, or you don't have like the distance to back your camera up. So that's the importance of, you know, how many millimeters you want in your lens. Now I will say the 50 millimeter lens is nicknamed the Nifty 50 because it gives you that great depth of field and blur, but it also is affordable. This lens you can get for under $200 for the Canon 80D. And so like 9 times out of 10, if you're looking for a great starter lens that gives you that depth of field and that blurred background, the 50 millimeter is the lens you want to get, okay? That is the lens you want to get. Again, this is f1.8, so it has that depth, you know, of field. So that means you're gonna get a nice blurry background. So boom, the Canon 50 millimeter Nifty 50. If you're a starter, you're a beginner, you got a low budget, this is the lens you need to invest in. Now, caveat, I don't have this lens, but if you're in a smaller room, you might want to look into getting like a 24 millimeter lens, like pancake lens, because that's going to give you a wide shot in a small space. So if you're in a small room and you can't back your camera up further than this, the 24 millimeter is going to be a wider shot and allow you to capture more in your background, like this 18 to 35. And you guessed it right, a 24 millimeter actually can be achieved with this 18 to 35. So when you change the ring on the camera to zoom in, you can zoom in up to like 24 millimeters and it would be equivalent to you know, having a 24 millimeter pancake lens on your camera. So that's the benefit of a zoom lens. You can zoom in and out without physically moving your camera. But typically, word on the curb, they be saying they really enjoy, like my content creators and people who I know who are like camera people, their favorite thing to do is have a fixed lens because they feel like the quality is more crisp because it doesn't have to worry about, you know, doing the extra work to be a zoom lens. But I don't know, I feel like they both are chef's kiss. The zoom lens gives you more versatility versus a fixed lens. Okay, so as we work our way up, the next lens is my Sigma 30 millimeter lens. Now this is a fixed lens as well, and as you can see, it's like midway between the 50 millimeter that I just had on, and it's a little bit closer than this 18 to 35 millimeter, because right now it's zoomed all the way out on 35 and this lens is a 30. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, if I had a 24 millimeter fixed lens and this 30 millimeter fixed lens, both of those focal lengths can be achieved with my 18 to 35 lens. So those lenses kind of fit in between the zoom lens that I have. Okay, so what I like about this Sigma 30 millimeter lens is that the f-stop can go all the way down to 1.4, and that means like I get a super blurry background. Like I said, I know I don't have a lot of stuff in the background right now, and I'm sorry because this is not, I guess, okay, that added one more thing in the back, but as you can see, like this is way more blurry in the back than this is. So that's the difference between that f-stop being really low versus an f-stop that's high. Now if you find a lens and it's like f3.5, babe, it's not giving blur. I'm just gonna let you know right now. So that's probably why it's more in your budget or in your price range. Now what I will say is One thing that I did not mention yet is you're hearing me say Sigma, you're hearing me say Canon. I haven't said Tamron yet because I don't personally own a Tamron, but those are different brands that are compatible with Canon. So if you're looking for a Canon 50 millimeter lens or a Canon 30 millimeter lens, you may be able to find the same lens with the same specs, 30 millimeter 1.4 in a different brand, and they, you know, obviously they try to say that, you know, the qualities are different, but in my personal opinion, the two alternative brands that I refer to the most are Sigma lenses, because they're very, very good, and Tamron lenses, which are also very, very good. There are multiple different brands that sell similar lenses, so I would definitely do your research and read reviews and stuff like that to see if it's cheaper than the manufactured Canon lens. Like, does it have good reviews or whatever, because you want to be careful with that. And I mentioned that to say, so this is the Sigma 30 millimeter lens. I love it, and I definitely recommend this for, again, content creators who do like natural hair or whatever, because like this is a great range. I haven't moved the camera at all, but like this is a perfect range. You can see all of my hair. If I reach in to show you a product, like my hair and everything is nice and blurred out in the background, and like this is probably one of my top 2 lenses that I love, especially fixed lens wise. Now back to the different versions of lenses. I want to let you know that you have to be careful with, like, you know, the brands that you don't know like that. That's why I'm saying, you know, I already can test out and testify that Sigma and Tamron are great brands. But for this camera, which is my EOS R, I kind of mentioned to you guys that I needed an adapter to go on the camera so these lenses with the EF mount could fit my RF mount camera. And so if you get an EOS R and you have EF lenses, you will need an adapter. But the adapter that came with this camera when I bought it off eBay was like a off-brand adapter, and after using it maybe 1 or 2 times, like it wasn't, you could feel that it was like lightweight and not a good quality adapter, and it stopped reading the lens correctly. And then I bought my own, but because I didn't want to spend on Canon, I just got one, you know, that was like an off brand. And after about maybe 6 to 8 months of using it, it started doing the same thing. So I recently have purchased the Canon adapter, and I just think that it's more heavyweight and durable and equipped to hold the lenses that I use on this camera, because I use a 70 to 200 Tamron lens at church, and that's like a big body lens, and so that weight on that lightweight off-brand adapter just was not working with it, so I wound up buying the Canon one. So the next 2 lenses that I have, and I'm almost done. Alright, so this lens right here is my Canon 18 to 135 millimeter kit lens. This is f3.5 and f3.5 through 5.6. First of all, this is 18 millimeters right here. This camera is a little bit further back than this one, which is why you can see my mic in the shot. You can see my mirror that's all the way back here. Like, you can see my wet wipes to clean my makeup desk. Like, you can see a lot, right? And so 18, again, the smaller that millimeter number, the wider you can see. Like, you can see my entire wingspan, and my wingspan is big, okay? And so this kit lens is great for, like, you know, starters. It's a great lens. The downfall is it's not gonna give you that blurry background as much, because this is a f3.5. That's the lowest it can go. And we just had on a 1.4. So you could tell the difference between, like, even if I hold my hand up, like, I personally am not that blurry back here, okay? Like, I am not that blurry versus how it would be with a 1.8 like this. Like, you can't even see my hair, but here you can see my curls. So that gives you the difference of the blurriness. Now, although this is an 18mm, it goes 18 to 135. So let me zoom you guys in. Okay, so I zoomed you guys in all the way to 135mm, and that f-stop said f3.5 through 5.6. So if you zoom all the way into 135mm, the f-stop, the lowest f-stop you can get with the lens cranked out that far is 5.6. So I know that the color is off right now. I did have to bump up the ISO because as that f-stop goes up, it gets darker. It's not gonna, the lower your f-stop, the more light is coming into the camera and all that stuff, but the higher the f-stop, it gets darker. So I had to bump my ISO up to compensate. But anyway, y'all can see 135, that's mad close. So if you're doing photography for other people, like, this is great. And sometimes a blurry background can hinder you a little bit when you're shooting like event photography, because if you're going for a group shot and you got your f-stop down at 1.8, baby, it's gonna zoom in on that one person that's closest to the camera. And so you have to kind of like consider those things when you're purchasing your camera lenses. So this is the kit lens. It zooms in this close, and then I'm gonna zoom y'all out, and now it's back down to 3.5, and I need to bump my ISO down to get the camera back looking right. All right, and last but not least, we have my 100mm macro lens. And this lens, y'all, was my baby. Like, at one point I really wanted to get into macro videography with like my makeup looks and stuff like that. So I bought this 100mm macro lens, and it is f2.8. And this lens is great for I like using it at church because I don't have to be all up on somebody to get like a good picture of them on stage or something like that. But as far as like makeup tutorials and stuff like that, like there's not much reason why you need to be this close up in my face unless I'm doing like a lip product video. So like, say if I hike my chair up and I was filming a lip video, this would be a great focal length to capture it. I typically use this lens if I'm doing something specific, so whether that's like a lip swatch video or like applying lashes or doing brows, and I want it to be like, you know, real up close and personal. That's what I use this lens for. And this lens is not cheap, so this lens is really like if you want to get into macro photography or like photographing stuff super close. Like if you want to get into the crevice of my hand and all that kind of stuff, like that's what this lens is for. Also, this lens doesn't autofocus quickly because it is so like, I don't know the logical reason why I don't focus quickly, but it don't. I just want to let y'all know that. But I do love this lens. So y'all, that is pretty much all of my camera lenses that I own. I hope you guys enjoyed watching my camera lens collection. If y'all have more questions or want me to do a specific video just on one lens, I can do that. But yeah, babe, we got lenses upon lenses and more lenses. So if y'all have questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Also, I will say there is another lens that I want to get next, and I want to get the 24 to 70 millimeter lens because that's a good range that I don't currently have. I have 18 to 35, then I hop to 50 and then 100. And so if I can get that, oh, and the next fixed lens I want to get is the 85 millimeter lens. The 85 millimeter lens is chef's kiss for portraits. If you're shooting other people, it's just a great lens. So the next two coming up on my purchase list is the 85 millimeter lens and the 24 to 70 zoom lens. So if you guys have those or y'all selling them for the low, let me know. But yeah guys, this is my lens collection. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want more tech talks, make sure you comment down below. I love y'all so very much, and until next time, peace.